let's talk about the best foods that can potentially prevent or avoid a miscarriage. There are no studies on this. Even prenatals apparently don't prevent a miscarriage. I think the reason for that is that if your diet isn't correct going into a pregnancy, and you're throwing on top of it some synthetic vitamins in high potency amounts, it's not going to create the big impact. The most important thing is making sure that mother has prepared a healthy body for that baby. And that means consuming the right foods well in advance. So if we look at some of the data relating to miscarriages, 80% of miscarriages happen within the first trimester. There could be some DNA or genetic problem that gets activated from epigenetics. Epigenetics actually control your genes. And so if the mother's going through severe trauma or stress or something in the environment that expresses the wrong gene, then there could be problems. So your epigenetic environment is actually more important than your genes. The fetus could be growing on the outside of the uterus. That could be one reason. There could be an infection. There could be some type of chronic health problem like diabetes, an autoimmune disease, high blood pressure, fibroids, so there's no space for that fetus to grow. Smoking can definitely be a big problem. Alcohol can be another big problem. Being on certain type of drugs can cause this problem. High amounts of caffeine can cause a miscarriage, seizures, problems with the cord, mercury, chemicals, solvents, pesticides, and several of these things could be a nutritional deficiency combined with being on the wrong diet. If we take a low-carb diet, you're going to greatly reduce becoming a diabetic, and especially if you're pregnant, developing something called gestational diabetes, which is actually not so rare. And that's primarily because that pregnant female is consuming way too many carbohydrates. Now, by also lowering your carbohydrates, you're going to reduce inflammation. Okay, so you're going to help this condition right here. Blood pressure can be controlled by consuming high potassium foods. That would be large amounts of salads, leafy greens, as well as magnesium, same thing, leafy greens, and vitamin D. It's very difficult to get your vitamin D from food. You can get some from fatty fish like salmon or the sun, but I highly recommend that if you're pregnant, watching this right now, to start taking at least 10,000 IUs of vitamin D. Now, also, when you smoke, you deplete vitamin C. You get vitamin C from consuming enough vegetables. Definitely bell peppers, red peppers, all type of peppers. Now, fibroids actually can be stimulated by consuming too much dairy, especially because there's certain type of hormones in dairy that can make the fibroids get bigger. And then we have alcohol, which depletes vitamin B1, and that can create a whole series of issues. And then down here we have mercury, chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals. If you stick with organic foods, you're going to reduce the amount of chemicals and pesticides in the foods. It's very important when that baby is developing that all the nutrients are there. And so instead of taking a synthetic prenatal, I would always recommend a food-based prenatal, find a high quality one, in addition to consuming the key foods that are high in that individual vitamin. Like folic acid, you can get that from dark leafy green vegetables. Vitamin D, you can get that from sun, cod liver oil. Vitamin C, vegetables, bell peppers, red peppers. Vitamin E, seeds, like in sunflower seeds, and nuts, almonds, walnuts, pecans. Omega-3 fatty acids, which is very, very important. I'm talking about DHA primarily, which supports the brain. Fatty fish, okay? Salmon, huge. Now, there is some mercury in salmon and other fish, but it just so happens that the fish are also loaded with selenium that counters that. And so that brings up trace minerals. Selenium is a trace mineral. Trace minerals are very, very important in the development of that baby. So you can get that from seafood or sea kelp. Talking about iodine, zinc, selenium, and many others. A vitamin B3 deficiency can really increase your risk for getting a miscarriage. It's very easy to get B3. You can get it from turkey, tuna, chicken, beef. It's in a lot of foods, but you may want to take this as an extra supplement. And the best amino acids to take if you're pregnant would be eggs and fish. Now, there's other proteins that are good too, but these are very usable by your body to give the growing baby everything that it needs to develop correctly. But here's one that's really, really important, fats. It's very important not to do a low-fat diet when you're pregnant. You want grass-fed butter, okay, on your food. This will give you vitamin K2. That's very, very important. Olives, olive oil, cod liver oil, very, very important. But these are some of the foods that I would recommend to potentially avoid a miscarriage and make sure that baby develops in a very healthy way. And if a mother could actually start eating healthy, like 1 to 2 years before the pregnancy, I think that could completely avoid a miscarriage, unless there's some genetic problem that you cannot fix. And if you're pregnant right now watching this, go ahead and radically change your diet to including some of these nutrients. And of course, it's not just about nutrients, it's about avoiding certain things like the junk foods, the high level of carbohydrates, the refined carbs and sugars. All right, thanks for watching. So if you want more knowledge on how to create a healthy body, subscribe now and get daily notifications. Daily notifications, that sounds weird. Well, I'll just remind you on a daily basis. How about that?